Those of you who are sitting in front, just turn around and see how many people are in the church. Just turn around. You see how many are in the hall? Yeah, this is exciting. I know we have just one mass now every weekend, but even then, this is a good number for the summer. So that means even though we're taking some time off to rest, we're not taking time off from Jesus. And thank you for doing this. Thank you for prioritizing Jesus even in the summer months. Because you're in a relationship with him, right? And like any relationship, there's no time off. Right. No such thing. So thank you for coming. And I hope I see you next Sunday again. There are certain professions in either in Canada or all around the world that when you try to go into that profession, you probably go to school, you go to SciAst, or you go to the university to get a degree or a diploma, but you cannot graduate from that profession if you do not do what they call an internship. One of such professions is being a doctor or a nurse. You got to do internship, and they have different names they are called. Sometimes internship is weeks, sometimes it's months, sometimes it runs into years. But the goal of internship is that you have learned in the classroom. Now we want to see how you apply what you have learned in the classroom in the field. Because the truth of a good professional is what they do in the field, right? We see Jesus do the same today. He sends his disciples, his apostles, his disciples, 70 of them. They started their internship. We don't know how long this internship was. Maybe it was weeks running into months or days or maybe a year, we don't know. But they went on this internship, and as we heard in the gospel reading, they came back reporting that they did so well. And then Jesus followed up, going to those same places again, just to check out, to see how much they did. What a great teacher he is. And this internship is not only for the apostles or the disciples. Anyone who is called a disciple today is also sent on an internship. If there's one request Jesus made of every Christian when he was leaving this world, it was just one request. And what was it? He said, go make disciples of all nations. He says, and what does it mean to make disciples? The big word we use in the church is evangelization, and that word sounds strange. But let's break it down. Simply making disciples. What does it mean to make disciples? To introduce people to Jesus. That's what it means. And is it just knocking on people's doors and preaching? No. And that's what I want to talk about in the next few minutes. Jesus' strategy. So if he gives us a task, he teaches us how to do it. And the best way to be successful at making disciples, bringing a family member to Jesus, introducing someone else to Jesus, is to look at the way Jesus did it, right? Because he was so successful at what he did. And so we learn from the best. We learn from the master. So he invites us to bring people to him. And just at the beginning of Mass this morning, I asked you to join me in praying for all those who are struggling. Just this week, I can't tell you the text messages, the phone calls I had to make because people were, just hearing what is happening in the lives of people, that at the end of the week, I was almost running a deficit emotionally on a negative because of all that I've heard. And I just said this week I'm just going to be praying for people because there's a lot of struggle there. But when someone calls you and says they are struggling, what do you typically say to them at the end of hearing the story as a Christian? You say, I'll pray for you. Now, what does that mean? I'll pray for you. What does it mean? This is what it means. You're simply telling that person that, you know what? I'm going to bring Jesus to you, and I'll bring you closer to Jesus. Because he alone has solution to your problem. People are struggling. And yes, it could be struggles around finances, but that's not going to fix the problem. It could be struggles around relationship, but Just introducing them to someone is not going to fix the problem. There's only one person who has a solution that lasts forever, and that person is Jesus. So if we really love people and they are struggling and want to help them, yeah. I hear that voice. It's always good to hear those voices, right? Yeah. Best thing to bring to such people is to invite Jesus into their lives. So, how do we do this? Because when we hear about bringing people closer to Jesus, the first thing that comes to mind is we have to preach, or we have to make these whole arguments to convince them that they are in the wrong, and to bring them into the right, sometimes to judge. But that's not the way Jesus went about it. How did Jesus go about it? I'll share with you 3 strategies, 3 ways Jesus went about bringing people close to him that worked and made his mission very successful. If you're thinking of bringing someone, maybe at work, a family member, a child, or grandchild to Jesus, let's look at these 3 strategies quickly. The first strategy that I see Jesus used in his mission was what I'll refer to as life-to-life transference. Life-to-life transference. What does that mean? If you go through the scriptures, especially New Testament, the stories of Jesus, you never find a time. The only time you find Jesus alone was when he was alone talking to his Father. So someone says to Jesus, I'd like to invite you to my home. Guess what Jesus says to them? I want to come, but I don't want to come alone. He goes to meals with his disciples. Someone says, my child is dying, and I need you to come and lay your hands on the child. What does he do? He calls 3 of his disciples to come with him. There's never a time Jesus was at a place doing something, praying over people, raising the dead, or on the mountain that he was not with his disciples. Why do you think he did that? Because the best way to teach people is to pour out your own life into those people, to spend time with them. And I see that, especially as fathers, I know that's one strategy fathers use in raising their sons especially. What do? You have common projects with them. And you're asking them to bring you the nails and the hammer, which you can do yourself. But because you want to have a project, and in doing the project, what is happening? They're getting to know dad, and you are passing your values onto them. You're not really preaching, but you're just talking about life generally. And they are learning from dad. That's Jesus' strategy. He spent time with his disciples, slept in the same house with them, ate the same food, would go nowhere without them, because he was passing what was in him onto his disciples. Even in psychology, even medical field, this is very common. You go to see your doctor, and the first thing he's asking you is, how are you doing? He doesn't just go straight, okay, what do we deal with right now? How are you doing? What do you think he's trying to do? You go for counseling, the first few sessions, it's like you're wasting your time. And he's just talking, you're not talking about the issues yet. Because he needs to build trust. And trust cannot be built without presence. So you want to bring someone to the faith, remember, it's not just calling them once in 2 months and saying, can you go to church with me? That's never going to work. It's to be involved in their lives and know what their struggles are. And it's within that struggle that you can offer them Jesus. But if you don't know them and they don't trust you, how are they even going to take whatever you say? So, Jesus' strategy. His second strategy that I see in his life was Jesus did not only teach by spending time with each disciple, he also created community. And what's the essence of community? Because Jesus also knew that the disciples would not only learn from him, but they will learn from each other. And so we often see him have meals with them together, take them to a gathering where there are lots of people. And what's happening? They are sharing their ideas. And in sharing their ideas, they are learning from Jesus, but they are also learning from each other. This is why we have potluck supper in church. This is why we have pancake breakfasts. What's the goal of that? That will build community. Because within community, what's happening? We're growing in our love for Jesus because we are showing each other love. And the only basis for showing anyone love is because you love Jesus first. And then the third one, which is the first one we always run to, Jesus preached. You remember the Sermon on the Mount, the Beatitudes. at the Last Supper, he would sit down and teach his disciples. That's the last bit. But oftentimes, when we talk about bringing people to Jesus, that's the first thing we think, I need to preach. I need to come up with all these arguments. No, you got to build trust first. Let them trust you, let them know you love them, and then whatever you say bears fruit. As I end my homily this morning, I want to remind you that bringing people to Jesus, it's not an option. It's what he asked us to do. It's one request he made of us. He says, please bring people to me. Why does Jesus want us to bring people to him? Because every good father or mother wants their children to be where they are. I've not seen a mother who is in a place and very comfortable and doesn't want her children to be there. So let's apply that to God. If heaven is God's home and throne, what do you think God wants most for each one of us, whether we come to church or not? Is that when we finish our term here, we get to go to heaven. And it doesn't matter whether the person acknowledges God yet. It's great loss to God when a soul goes to hell. And so Jesus is saying to you this morning, I need your hands, I need your feet to help me go into the world, to bring those who do not know me yet to know me, so that I can be in their lives through struggle and even in their joys. And when they finish their time here, they also get to come to heaven. We cannot love someone and yet we cannot offer them Jesus. Whatever we offer someone in this world, no matter how important that thing is, when they struggle, that thing is only temporary. The greatest thing we offer anyone we love is salvation. Because what else? No matter what you have at the end of the day, it's not going to go with you anywhere. But it's where your soul goes to. So if you love your children and they are not practicing, you should be bothered. It's not okay. If you love your colleague at work and they don't know Jesus, you can just say that's okay. It's not. Because we all need Jesus here, and we all need Jesus hereafter. Can I invite you to please bow your heads?